Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout using the brand new Cape Cod collection from Close to My Heart. It is the perfect kind of beachy collection. I love the colors. This here though, it's kind of based for maybe the ocean, the sea, the ocean, but this layout here, I'm actually doing a boating layout. We live around a lot of lakes, and so I decided to use this layout or this collection for kind of a lake layout. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try to include, I think, 6 photos on this layout. This was the first time we took our new to us boat out on the water. We took both kids out there and had a lot of fun. And my youngest is just, I don't know, he's got so much attitude and always gives me the best photos. So I usually have a bunch from him. So this is how I'm going to lay out my layout here. I am going to crop down the one photo and have that kind of on the bottom. I did cut a little bit off of the background page off of 3 sides. So I'm going to back that, but only on 3 sides. I wanted the middle to kind of flow across the page better. Just kind of photo after photo. So I originally had this idea to use the brand new summer Stampin' Thin Cuts for my title. I was going to use it on the white space to the left of my photos on page 1. But I got going with this layout and doing these layers with the different pattern papers, ripping them, and completely forgot to leave enough white space for that. So I am using the stamp set, however, switching it up a little bit. So now that I kind of have these layers, I'm going to use the phrase paper, and then there are some anchors on that other paper. I believe that's the color Periwinkle with the anchors on there. I thought that was completely appropriate for the boat. So you can see that my paper's hanging off the edge. The reason I do that, one, I cut, some off of the paper, the white paper, and 2, it just is easier so I don't cut it too short and then have white space left over because I made a mistake. So I just do this and then cut off the excess after it's all taped on there. One thing that I was kind of bummed that I didn't do is a lot of times if I have the papers going the full length across the 2 pages, I will make sure that they are the same width going across the 2 pages. So you can see that on page 1, the ripped paper at the top really comes down to a point, and then the paper on the second page is much wider. And so all said and done, I wish I would have paid more attention to that and had them the same width going across the page. It just doesn't flow the way I really wanted it to. So here's how I kind of just trim off the excess, flip the paper over and cut it off. And then I am going to try to figure out what color I want kind of the layouts to be matted in. I'm going to place this place the photos back where I want them, and then kind of decide what to do. I do end up placing or taping the photos, at least most of them, right on the layout. Because I trimmed it down, I didn't feel like I could really trim down my photos, so that middle one does overlap the other 2, just because I didn't want to trim those down. So I did a lot of pre-stamping or trial and error, I guess, using some different stamps. There was an idea in the stamp set, and in the catalog, sorry. The summer title I'm going to be using, there is kind of like a mixed media stamp in the behind the scenes stamp, and instead of coloring in the summer stamp with colored pencils or markers, which I have yet to accomplish or try, I guess, even. I loved how they use that mixed media stamp to color in the alpha. The one that they did, there's this new daisy, I think is what it's called, a daisy alpha, and they actually did it with that alpha, but I figured it would work fine with the stamp set that I wanted to try it with. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. You'll see that coming up. I did want to include these zip strips. They had the anchors, and I did want a barrier between the photo, I guess, and the paper, at least at the bottom. I do wish I could have added something to the top as well, but I like how that kind of gives it a barrier. So I'm going to do that across the page there, so it flows again. Luckily, there's two different papers with the same zip strip, so I could do it on both pages. So I taped down that one photo, the large photo of me and my youngest. That one I'm actually going to double back and I believe pop up on foam tape. I wanted that one to pop out a little bit. Same with the smaller one that's going to be on the pattern paper. I feel like backing just helps it stand out a little bit more, especially when it's on the pattern paper. I feel like it would have got lost a little bit. So I am going to use the same color. I think that's Lagoon. I think I might have actually flipped it over. So if you don't or haven't used any of our cardstock from Close to My Heart, it is two shades. So one is darker and the other side is lighter, which is always nice. So I think I flipped it over and chose the lighter side for the backing of that bottom photo because it was going to butt up against the bordered edge of the darker Lagoon. So here's my, not my attempts, but I wanted to make sure that the stamp was going to work. And so beforehand, I actually had tried out that mixed media stamp. But here's where I'm going to use that summer stamp. I wanted to also bring in some kind of orange or another color because my son's bathing suit is bright orange. So I think I picked Nectarine. And so once I get this done, I'm going to stamp the summer stamp in black. I am going to then use the mixed media stamps. I don't do that right away because I wanted that black to dry. I did not want it to smudge at all. And so I decided to keep going with other ideas and then come back to that mixed media just to make sure that black ink dried really well. I also thought I was going to be using this Fun in the Sun stamp, and I, before this layout, stamped the state of Michigan. It's actually a Close to My Heart stamp, but my aunt or my mom found it at a garage sale for me. So unfortunately, that stamp is long gone. But what I did with that stamp is I actually used two different colors on the stamp. So I inked up the stamp half with the light color and then flipped it around, inked up the bottom with the darker color. So it kind of gave it an ombre look. I tried to use a blending brush and kind of blend it in there, but it kind of left like a swiped look almost, I guess. It wasn't like a solid ink color. So instead, I just actually put the stamp right on it, flipped it over, and did the same thing. So here's where I'm using that kind of mixed media background stamp to stamp over the colors. So I'm going to do 3 different, again, bringing in that Nectarine, just so that it kind of incorporates the color of his swimsuit there. So I just kind of alternated the colors, chose 3 of them just because there's 6 letters in the word summer. And then unfortunately I had to fussy cut it. I really wish that one would have had a thin cut with it, but unfortunately had to fussy cut it. It's placed here where I originally thought I would stamp it right on the layout. I don't love it though, so maybe it was a blessing that I didn't leave enough space because I don't love it going vertical like that. And then that fun in the sun, I thought I was going to try to layer the Michigan over where the palm trees were because we don't have palm trees in Michigan, obviously. So I thought I was going to do that. That didn't work. So then I had to figure out kind of where to go from there. Luckily, I had found these Rosie Studio titles, and they were like the same colors of the collection, which worked out perfectly. So instead of using that summer to the left, I decided just to use sun and fun, and then kind of go on from there. So I am going to add a cluster to the top. That anchor is from the sticker sheet. I'm going to layer that and have the Michigan, at least start with the Michigan over top of that. Popped that up on some foam tape and then kind of go from there, playing around with where I can put this summer. And do decide that I am going to add it to the right hand side of the page. So I kind of have two titles on this layout. It is what it is. I really just did not want to, I guess, waste that stamped image of the summer. So I wanted to incorporate that still. I kind of tried to find all of the anchors that I could in this collection. So there was some in the embellishment pack. I think there was one more, maybe, I think it's toffee. I think that's the color of that embellishment. So in the embellishment pack, there are 3 different colors, and then the blue color, which I guess would probably be the periwinkle, is actually acrylic pieces. So that's really fun that they kind of mix the products, I guess. So I did add the 2 seagulls or the birds to the top cluster, and then I'm kind of going to play from there. I knew I wanted at least one more cluster on the first page, and so there was a label sticker on the sticker sheet. So I decided to try and use that, and then really wanted to kind of maybe then move the Michigan. I didn't like how it was almost tone on tone up there with that anchor, even though it is kind of the same color of the label I'm going to use on the cluster on page 1. I just decided to switch it up a little bit. So instead, this little bird is going to make an appearance and be popped up on some foam tape and finish off that top cluster. I did try, the Michigan stamp actually had the word Michigan on the little stamp set. I did actually try to stamp that on the label, and that did not work. I did that off camera, and the reason it didn't work, I already had the foam tape on it, so it just did not stamp very well. So instead, I end up just putting another phrase sticker from the sticker sheet on that label and covered up my messed up stamping. I did end up on that Rosie Studio title stickers, there was the word sunshine. So I did end up adding that because it was kind of a lighter toffee color. I added that under that summer just to kind of finish off that title a little bit. So it's summer sunshine. Added a little bird, that is the acrylic piece, to the title on the left hand side, and then a little sunshine to bring in, again, just a little bit more of that nectarine color. That is off of the summer stamp set as well, I believe. So we're coming up to finishing it here in just a minute. I did decide to add another cluster to the top right of page 1. So I kind of played around with it. There was this little journaling circle that I thought maybe I'd put up at the top, but end up putting it down at the bottom, tucking that under that label at the bottom, and then starting over with kind of ideas of what to place at the top there. I liked that sticker. It said happy place. We all had a great time, and so I thought that was appropriate. But then I had to kind of figure out what to add to that cluster. I again found some of those acrylic birds and then kind of that toffee anchor. So I decided to move that happy place over a little bit so I could squeeze that anchor in to the left of that. And then I believe I put the birds back in place and finished that off. This layout Took a while. Lots and lots of stamping, kind of a few mistakes here and there, but those birds are going to finish off this layout. So I will link the stamps that I used down below, as well as the Cape Cod collection, so you guys can pick that up if you are interested. Again, the Michigan or the States, those are long gone. I apologize. That is just an older one we found at a garage sale. But I hope you guys enjoyed this layout, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.